Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Soudan Bowl Network. Tonight, we are joined by a special guest, none other than Cher. I'm just kidding. We have Rex Dickson, former creative director with Madden, and we have Soudan to kind of go over his journalistic expertise. So, welcome, fellas.
What's going on, Alpha? What's going on, Rex? No problem. So let's get this thing kicked off. It's an honor to have you on the network. Big fan. So tell us, Rex, this one's been bugging me for a while here. What is it like to be a game developer?
Yeah, good question. I actually, when I was in college, that's when I kind of knew this is what I wanted to do. At the time, there wasn't a lot of schools. But yeah, it's different from most normal jobs because the hours are not usually that normal, and job security tends to not be a thing you can rely on. So I've moved around a lot. I've lived in Los Angeles, Orange County, Phoenix, Arizona, New York City, Brisbane, Australia, Austin, Texas, Orlando, Florida, and now Boulder, Colorado, just chasing job after job in the game industry, which gives you some indication of the lack of stability that kind of. But it's also very satisfying. I can't imagine doing anything else. It's been a great career, and I look back with almost zero regrets. I'm really happy that I got into it.
Well, welcome to Colorado, by the way. I'm also located in Colorado. Wonderful state, especially if you like skiing or snowboarding or the outdoors.
Yeah, we love it here. My wife and I, we want to hopefully stay here long term. I'm big into mountain biking, and I ski almost every weekend out here. So we're making it our best adventure here in Colorado.
So what are some of the projects that you've worked on in the past?
So if we start from the beginning, the first project I kind of worked on where I was QA was the original Turok Dinosaur Hunter on the N64. I worked on a lot of acclaimed games there, stuff like Starfighter. Believe it or not, the football game they had, NFL Quarterback Club, I was involved with. But Turok was the big one. It was the first game I had my name in the credits where I was working directly with the development team. And so from there, I went out to Arizona and I built my first RPG, which is a game called Revenant on the PC back in 97, I believe. And from there, I went to Austin, Texas, and actually got hired by the same studio who built Turok. And I became a lead designer on Turok Evolution, which was kind of true dev console job. From there, I moved to Orange County. I did a year working for a company called The Collective, where I worked on an Indiana Jones game, which unfortunately never came out. And after that, I moved up to Los Angeles, where I worked for EA Los Angeles on Medal of Honor. The first one being Medal of Honor European Assault, and the second one being Medal of Honor Airborne. A game I'm really proud of because I was lead designer on that one, and it was pretty innovative for its time. After I decided to leave EA, I did a little bit of work on the Medal of Honor 2010 reboot, which is kind of like a modern combat Afghanistan. And then I went to New York City where I joined THQ and became lead designer on Homefront. And that was a very rewarding project, but also one of the hardest I'd ever worked on. Did a lot of overtime on that game. Chaos Studios and THQ ended up shutting down, and THQ offered me a job in Brisbane, Australia. And that game was a 4-player co-op first-person Avengers title, which was supposed to come out in time for the movie, the first Avengers movie, which went on to be the highest-grossing movie of all time for the time. And that game was really, really cool. Luckily enough, there's YouTube videos of it. So if you search "canceled Avengers game," you can see a little bit about what we were working on. And unfortunately, THQ ran out of money about a year, 6 months before we were going to ship that game. And I was left stranded with a pregnant wife in Australia and out of work with my visa ending. So we rushed back.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. We rushed back to the States. I looked at a lot of job opportunities, turned down a bunch of opportunities, and ended up at EA. And my first job there was as gameplay director on NCAA 14 and Madden 14. And I was there for 6 years. Unfortunately, we lost NCAA during my second year there after NCAA 14, which is devastating to me because NCAA, as most of you know who follow me on Twitter, probably my favorite video game franchise of all time. And it was just an honor to be able to get a chance to work on it and work with that.
Yeah, NCAA 14 was awesome. I love that game.
Yeah, huge fan. And it's sort of left a hole in my gamer life ever since it's been canceled. And then after that, obviously Madden for a bunch of years. And then after I decided to leave Tiburon, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. I was actually thinking about taking some time off. But then amidst many recruiters and sort of opportunities that I turned down in AAA console, a small recruiter from Hasbro called me, and she said, we have a mobile gaming studio in Colorado. And I said, oh my gosh, Colorado, like I want to know more. And they basically talked me into it. I wasn't too sure about mobile free to play, but just on the idea of moving to Colorado was so exciting to me and my wife that we decided to. And I've been there.
Awesome. Congratulations. Out of all those projects, THQ, I used to do some work with Frontlines Fuel of War. I think that was right before the series. So I definitely enjoyed that series. I enjoyed Homefront. Out of that list, what was your favorite project?
It's tough to say. I jumped to NCAA because it's like my favorite video game of all time, and I just loved working on it. But in terms of like, as a designer, it's probably got to be Medal of Honor Airborne, because like we had the drop and we had open sandbox levels 10 years before PUBG and Fortnite came out. And unfortunately, it didn't catch on because that was when Call of Duty was really first hitting its stride. And but that's probably the most rewarding as a game designer because of how much innovation we were able to get into that game. But in terms of the one I'm proudest of, it'd probably be NCAA.
Hey Rex, this is Alpha. I actually have a kind of a neat question. Do you ever see Xbox making NCAA backwards compatible?
No, I'd have to imagine the restriction there has to do with licensing, because the same legal reasons why they canceled it would still probably be in play if they tried to make it backwards compatible or put it in EA Access or something like that. So that's probably the reason why they haven't.
Makes sense.
With that being said, Rex, what would you consider your toughest project that you've worked on yet?
Wow. There's a bunch of different ways I could go with that answer. Homefront was probably the most brutal, just the amount of overtime to get that game out. I was a bit of a salvage project. I came in and it was way behind schedule and they didn't have much done, and the release date was looming, and we killed ourselves to get that one out. Madden was different in terms of it's the nature of it being a very political marketing driven project. So there was a lot more executive overreach, sort of what I'd call micromanagement of creatives, and just a lack of sort of autonomy and ownership and the ability to kind of push it in the direction we wanted, because there were so many stakeholders and everybody had an opinion that it became probably the most difficult project in terms of office politics, I'd say.
Interesting. So a developer of your experience, let's do a hypothetical here. What would your ideal football game look like? Should it be your own project, start to finish?
Yeah, it's a good question. So for me, I think there's the bar is so high these days with sports titles, where they're so deep and there's so many modes, and I kind of feel like maybe the right decision would be to not go so wide, but really focus on the field, like really nail animation and interactions, and just focus on gameplay and playbooks, and make sure you hit all the important football stuff. Everything from match coverages to kill plays to play action. Just go super, super deep in terms of representing an authentic version of football on the field. And for me, that would probably mean you end up compromising on, the number of modes and, doing a story mode or something like that, or having a really deep management experience. Because ultimately, for me, you spend most of your time on the sticks on the field. And so I would make that definitely the priority and really just go big there before you tack on the rest of the stuff.
Oh, awesome answer. Yeah, I love that. And now we're introduced into the age of social media. So it seems like anytime a company does something, it's out there. People are voicing their opinion, negative, positive, a lot of noise. How does somebody in the industry or somebody with your title, how do you deal with all that noise? Do you just ignore it, or what do you do?
That's a good question. So, for me, Andrew Wilson, when he became CEO, he had a lot of, he had a strategy that I fundamentally believed that players first was the right way to go. And that meant for me that I had to start listening. And that I was very active in the community once I started my Twitter account for Madden 16 and started jumping in Twitch streams and kind of just being around so I could watch and listen to what people were saying and feeling about the game. In a way, it kind of backfired on me because, not everybody who's a big decision maker at Tiburon is active on social media. So it was very easy for certain people to say, well, Twitter Madden is a vocal minority and their opinion is not reflective of the mass. Because if they can basically assume that there's only 100,000, 200,000 users on Twitter or active on social media or on, it's really easy for them to kind of be dismissive of you know, what that community is talking about because they're like, hey, Madden's selling 5-6 million units and you're making such a big deal out of what a couple 100,000 hardcores. And that became sort of a sticking thing for me between myself and some of the executives there where, and I think, looking back, I had a lunch meeting with Ian Cummings once, who had the job before I did, and he said the same exact thing. As soon as he became active on Operation Sports and a few other social media sites, it drove a wedge between him and the executives, and the same exact thing happened to me. So in a way, it backfired, but in a way, I wouldn't have done it any differently because I still believe that you have to listen to your users, your most loyal customers, your core consumers who've been loyal to you for years. You have to do right by. But unfortunately, a bunch of other people in the building and marketing and executive staff felt like, well, those are the customers we already have, and we have them in our back pocket, and there's no other game for them to play because we have the exclusive license. So all our emphasis should go to growing the brand and bringing in new users. And that became a little bit of a wedge between the people who wanted to service the core and the people who wanted to make the game more accessible for new users and add things like Longshot to appeal to casual users to come in and grow the brand. And so that's sort of where there was that creative misalignment that ultimately ended up with me resigning.
Excellent, excellent answer. You partially answered my next question with that, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Do you have any advice for an aspiring or a smaller game developer trying to produce a football game in today's market?
Well, I wouldn't start with a football game. If you're an aspiring game developer, there's better ways and better places to start than that. So, my opinion, I give this to people all the time. Um, a lot of people will try to put themselves through school, and they'll go to some school that has a game design program and spend God knows how much money. And I honestly don't feel that's the right direction for people to go. These days, the two main editors that people use, game engines, are Unreal and Unity. Even a lot of the big shops use those engines, and they're free. You can download Unreal or Unity for free, and you go on YouTube or you go on a bunch of sites and they have tutorials, and you can basically learn whatever it is you're interested in learning, be it level design or audio or VFX, and just start taking a bunch of tutorials and learn how a game engine works. Ultimately, what people usually do first is they'll build a little prototype game, an indie game, or they'll build a level in Unreal that you can run through and shoot enemies. And that stuff, you'd be surprised. You can kind of get something together in less than a week. And then the more you polish it and get good at it, you'll start building a portfolio. And that's ultimately where the game industry will express their interest, is if you start posting levels online or you start posting your work in a portfolio, whether you've gone to school for game development or not, or whether you have experience or not, that is the primary thing that developers look for when they're hiring, is how good is this guy's work. And those two engines will help you show.
Excellent answer. Yeah, I've dabbled a bit with Game Maker. I made a Zelda, doing the same thing on YouTube. I made a Zelda game, and then of course my next download was Unity, and I do enjoy Unity. It's a little confusing to me because I never went to school for it, but yeah, excellent advice. Over to the Madden scene now. I know you may not be able to answer this question. Maybe you can, but what do you think of the current direction of the Madden franchise? We have a lot of Madden that follow us, so I have to ask the Madden question.
If I was aligned with the direction it was going in, I probably would still be there. I think all the focus on accessibility and bringing in casuals has really hurt, the core consumer. And of course, I'm still active on Twitter, so I see consumer sentiment. And when I see them starting to lose influencers, like big YouTubers who used to get really excited about the game and used to love the game are now trashing it, it worries me. It worries me for the future of the franchise, and it makes me wonder about where they're headed. I've heard some things about Madden 20, and I've obviously was involved with the creative a little bit early on, and I really hope they have a strong year, because the way this year has gone for them, it's been difficult for me to watch. I feel a lot of guilt that I left, and I feel a lot of guilt about the state of the game, because it hasn't gone in the direction that I hoped it would.
Gotcha.
One thing that I've noticed, Rex, I really missed when you guys would come out like months ahead of time, and 1 week would be like, hey, we're gonna show you this new feature, and everybody would tune in, and you guys had these like great video series. And I've noticed that they kind of got away from that, where they don't even really put anything out there until after the draft.
Yeah, I think that's the impact of EA Play. So ever since they diverged from E3 and created their own public event, that's where all the announcements come. So they just save everything for EA Play, and then it's one big shotgun blast of information all at once.
Right.
Yeah.
We have a question from the chat, Matt from Leak Crawler, kind of going back to the smaller developer question. Do you think that Maximum Football has any chance of success? I guess I'm guessing on a lower level.
You'd have to define what success means in that context, because they definitely have something. The thing that I've realized, and the thing that I know, is that in order to kind of compete or put something out there that can, reaches the same quality bar as a Madden or a 2K, you're going to need a much bigger team and a much more money. And otherwise, I think you always get seen as an indie title. And, they could iterate on it and certainly get it somewhere. But I worry about, ultimately, you need 200-300 people to get something at the same level of Madden or 2K, and that sort of is a big concern of mine with all these indie smaller. It's like, how are you supposed to compete with a team of 300 people if you're just trying to like build a foundation? So I have a lot of respect for what they're doing. I know how hard it is. And hopefully they can carve a niche, and if enough people buy it, hopefully they can start reinvesting in the studio and grow. But it's going to be tough.
Yeah, and looking at that in your answer, I kind of relate that to a construction company. Maybe you're tasked with building a hospital, and you're a group of 10 or 20 people. It's going to be a lot harder to compete against somebody that maybe has 1 to 200 employees that can kind of run through that. So that makes some sense. Back down to the gamer, Rex. What's your favorite football game that you've ever played aside from NCAA 14? Because I know you're heavily involved in that, but dating all the way back to Atari. What's your favorite football game?
I'd probably have to go with the Sega Dreamcast 2K football.
Oh yeah.
I played the hell out of it. That's what I remember sitting. I had roommates at the time. I was living in Arizona, and we played the hell out of that game. We actually played like full seasons co-op, and I have great memories of that. And that's probably my favorite. I was a big fan of the original Game Day when the first PlayStation first came. But Dreamcast 2K Football is probably my second choice after NC.
So 2K, the one with Randy Moss, right?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, that'd have to be one of my favorites. I'm a big Tecmo fan too. I was a kid growing up, and that Tecmo Bowl, the second one, I really enjoyed that one when you had all the NFL teams. Speaking of teams, what's your favorite NFL team, Rex?
So I'm a Jets fan. I'm kind of a closet Jets fan.
Oh boy,
very much. But every time I move around, I sort of like feel out the new area and see if there's a team I could adopt. But for 6 years in Florida, I just couldn't get on board with Miami or Jacksonville or Tampa Bay. And now I'm out here in Denver, and believe it or not, I was invited by the Broncos to go see a preseason camp this year, and I thought, I was watching Chad Kelly play, and he outclassed, McCown over and over and over again. I said, wow, if they start this guy, he's going to be something special. And, a few months later, he gets busted for being drunk inside somebody.
Yes.
Yeah, I
yes.
saw that.
Yeah. I'm like, well, there goes that.
That's.
I'm also like, nothing against Joe Flacco, but I'm not convinced that that's the right move for the franchise. So I'm still going to side with the Jets right now.
Well, I'm a Pats fan myself, so I feel your pain. My brother is a big Jets fan. We're both from the Northeast, so poor Jets.
Yep.
What do you think of them this year?
We'll see how these trades work out. I don't know what condition Le'Veon's going to be after taking a year off, but I'm pretty high on the quarterback, and we'll see what they do with their defense. They made some good moves in the offseason, but anytime, as long as Tom Brady's still playing, it's going to be really tough for them to compete in the AFC.
Yeah, definitely. What games are you playing now, Rex?
So right now, I just finished Far Cry New Dawn. I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed. Fortnite's been a mainstay for me and my kid, going back almost over a year now. Where we kind of co-grind it and work through the battle pass. It's been a great bonding experience for me and him. Anthem is downloaded but hasn't been started yet. I'm just sitting here waiting for a miracle patch to come out where everyone's like, yes, now jump in and play. That's about it for right now.
So from a game developer standpoint, genre, so you have your first person shooters, your sports games, or your RPGs. From a game dev standpoint, which one of those is the hardest to produce?
That's a good question. They all have their different sort of idiosyncrasies and kind of different challenges. I really liked FPS. I would love to go back to it someday. The game genre I've always wanted to work on but haven't had a chance yet is open world. Medal of Honor Airborne was the closest thing I ever did to that, but I play a ton of sandbox games. I love anything where you have just a ton of freedom in the way you sort of tackle encounters. I'm really not a big fan of linear games or anything that's really heavy-handed with story is not my thing. But yeah, it's different from game to game. Like sports games were probably the most challenging. Maybe that just has to do with Madden, but overall, as I look back, that was probably the most difficult thing. Is sports games are just the complexity of football. Inheriting 20 plus years of legacy code. It was a tough hole to dig out of.
So Rex, you did mention earlier you were working for a company based out of Colorado. Is there anything you want to plug? Anything you want to talk about with that that I guess is declassified right now?
It's a little early, but yeah, it's a mobile free-to-play developer. They're owned by Hasbro. When I started there, they were taking pitches from other developers, and one of those prototypes that we saw, I immediately jumped on it and said, we need to make this game. And I will say that it is sports themed. It's highly competitive PvP. It's got a bit of a wagering mechanic, which is really cool. I'm really excited about it. I probably put 80 plus hours into it already, and I think it's got a lot of potential. I know not everybody check it out because it's mobile. I'm excited because I think it has a lot of potential, and it's free to play, so you can download it for free when it. And if you don't like it, you install it, you delete it, no big deal. And
Well,
I think
when that becomes official, you'll have to let us know so we can definitely give it a shot.
Oh yeah, for sure, I will do. I'm excited because everyone who's got an will be able to play it or at least check it out. And I think it's really good, and we're probably like 2 to 3 months away from our worldwide launch. So far, the reviews we're getting and the feedback we're getting is very, very positive. So we're all super excited to see where it goes.
Awesome. I can't wait. Alpha, you have any more questions for Mr. Rex?
Yeah, I got a really important question for you. Are you going to watch our live draft tomorrow night?
Yeah. If you add me to the tweet, I'll definitely come check it out. Are you doing it on Twitch?
We are doing it on YouTube. Yeah, we have some cool stuff.
Okay,
We've actually created some cool stuff for it. So
just tag me on Twitter in the link, and I'll definitely stop by.
Awesome. And then I have a gift for you that I'll get with you about later. We have some Soudan Bowl mini helmets. I'm going to send you out a mini helmet.
Cool.
Put it in your man cave.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably bring your Jets and good luck.
I hope so.
Well, it was a pleasure, Mr. Rex. Again, maybe we'll have you back on when your mobile game goes live and is a huge success.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, bud.
Thanks, Rex.
All right, good night.
All righty. Great interview from Mr. Rex.
Absolutely.
All right, Soudan Bowlers. We are going to go through some of the new content that we've added to the Soudan Bowl. So without further ado, I'm going to open up a browser here to SoudanBowl.com so that I can go through this with you guys. So we mentioned this in the SBSL announcement video. Some of the new features coming to Soudan Bowl. You are now able to rate your player, your opponent that you're playing against in a few different categories. Those ratings are 1 through 5. 1 obviously being the least and 5 being the greatest. Those are going to tabulate the whole season, and you're going to have a score next to your name. And that score will kind of represent what type of quality player, what type of sim player you are. So we have that, and then we also have our SB rewards points are out. So those guys that like to create content, you are now being tracked. So check that out. Those are on our website. I think Alpha's going to run it down with you real quick.
Yeah,
go for it, Alpha.
So I've got it on the page here, the SB reward points. So as we grow as a community, we will obviously tweak this, maybe add some things. So if you guys have any suggestions on things that you want added, or hey, I think this is stupid, let us know, man. We're the one thing I like about Soudan, the one reason that I've kind of put all my chips on the table with him. He's awesome about listening to the community and making it better for everyone, because this is not about me or him. It's about all of us. So first one is playing scheduled games on time. So if you play your scheduled game on time, like you and your opponent actually schedule for like 9 o'clock on a Friday, you played on time, guess what? You guys get 10 points for that. You tweet about your team on Twitter. Guys, we do not provide Twitter pages just because of the way that the new new Twitter works. You have to put a cell phone in, so we're not able to make 32 Twitters for the team. So go out and make your team Twitter. Even if you want to run it on your personal Twitter, you guys can do that. If you do that, every time you tweet about your team, 10 points. Creating an article on the website, because guys, we want this website to look sick. We want it to look awesome. So if you're going to create an article on the website, you're going to get 20 points for that. New owner referral. This is going to be huge. If it just like any job that you have, if you refer somebody to your job, they normally give you $500. We're not going to give you $500. But we are going to give you points for this. So it's going to be a minimum. The owner has to stay a minimum of 8 weeks. But every good owner that you refer, you get $20 or 20 points. So that's going to be huge because, hey, guys, the good owners that we have in here, people always fall off, for life or whatever. We like to live by referrals, man. So we would rather bring people in that other than just somebody new that we have no idea who they are. Next one is interview on a digital platform. You come up here, you help me and Soudan out. You're gonna get points, man. Soudan's kid's in the background. He's gonna get 30 points for making that little sounds.
He's cheering you on, Alpha.
Hosting or co-hosting a digital show, whether it be a broadcast or a show that you want to do. You want to do one with me. You need help with any of this stuff. Let us know. You get 100 points. There's no better way to get points than to do just hosting. It's so fun. All you have to do is jump in Discord and watch the game and talk about it. Some guys are better than others, but hey guys, we'd like to put a couple teams together, right? I mean, we want to put like 2 or 3 teams together where we're like, hey, tonight it's going to be Alpha and Soudan, or whoever. So with that said, we do have some ways of getting points taken against you. Obviously, we want to run this the best way possible, but support issue resolved against you. Any type of issues that you have, whether it be gameplay or anything like that, you can get dinged 50 points. That's each type of issue, not it's one related issue. So sim or dictated loss, man. We understand that sometimes you're going to be out because you're sick or whatever. But if you're getting sim constantly and disconnected or anything like that, you're going to lose 25 points. So that kind of goes over the point system here. I'm on the website, as you can see. If you go to the home page and then go over to SBSL, click on the reward points, that's where it's at. So go ahead, Soudan.
Yeah, so points. These just aren't some magical number that is sitting next to your name with no meaning. These points are used to basically, kind of indoctrinate yourself into various Soudan Bowl events, whether it be the Madden 20 launch party or some of the tournaments that we have planned for you. The guys that are at the top of the leaderboard as far as these points go, they are the ones that are going to get the first pick of teams or the first slot in these events. Maybe during a season, you have some trades that you're submitting, and you'll see some guys' trades are rejected simply because they haven't been here long enough. They might be trying to, in some people's opinion, ruin certain teams. For instance, Aaron Rodgers being traded out of Green Bay, it might be a tough trade for somebody that's new to the league. However, some of these guys that have some high points here, they're basically going to get to do what they want to do.
Absolutely. So what do you want to touch on next, Soudan?
All right, so SBSL draft. We have our draft schedule out. If you want to go ahead and pull that up, Alpha, I'll give you a second. I'm pulling it up too. On the front page, we have the draft schedule. So we're going to go over this real quick so that there's no confusion for those guys in the draft.
Where's it at on the front page?
So if you go to the very front page of the website, you're going to have a news article under the latest posts. The top one says SL post-draft schedule.
All right.
So go ahead and open that. Nope, you're good.
All right, here we go.
So when you open this up, I have it listed on the image, and then I spelled out there. So the draft tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern time sharp. It's going to be broadcast on YouTube. Once the draft is done, it's hard to put a time on the draft. So that's why when you look at preseason weeks 1 through 3, what's going to happen is at the conclusion of the draft, I'm going to send a message. And that message is going to be, hey, we are advancing to preseason week 1. The timer has started. So every 10 minutes, we are going to advance with injuries off into week 2, then into week 3, then into week 4, and we are going to stop on week 4 until 8 p.m. the next night. So what that does, those 10-minute time frames allows you to go in and train your players so you can gain some XP for each week. And then at week 4, the reason for the pause for, a little less than 24 hours is to allow everybody to go in and make their cuts. So you can cut down to the 53 or 54 man cap and be good to go. So that way you don't have some of your rookies sent off to free agency, because if I advance that, then, the CPU is going to make cuts for you. And then kickoff is going to be Saturday, the 16th 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we advance to week 1, and that is the kickoff. With the kickoff announcement, we are going to be announcing our broadcast teams. So I plan to have 3 broadcast teams. Alpha and myself are going to do some games through the SBN, but we're going to have 2 additional broadcast teams of people that want to broadcast games. We're going to give you the tools to do it. We're going to teach you how to do it, and we're going to let you run with it and see how you do.
Yeah. Hey, question. I know that people are going to ask this. So about the free agents as we're in preseason, is there any limit on free agents that we can pick up? And if so, what's the rule on that? Hello?
Once you've picked up 2 players from free agency, that's it. You're done until the next advance.
Can you repeat that? You cut out. Like, I didn't hear any of that.
Yeah, our internet is awful here in Colorado Springs. We had a horrible storm go through yesterday, so my apologies. So basically, at each advance, you can sign 2 free agents, no more.
Okay, you're cutting out again. I got to, you could sign 2 free agents, no more, and then you cut out. So
yeah, that's where I cut out at, and that's all I really had to say. 2 free agents per advance, and you're done.
All right, cool, man. Is everybody pumped? I'm sure we got some cool stuff lined up. We got a cool show. We're trying to get as many people as possible watching it. Whether you're a Soudan Bowl owner, a fan of the league, or whatever, you should join us tomorrow night. Kickoff's probably going to be right around 7:30. Maybe a little bit after that, but we're going to definitely be live at 8 p.m. for the draft. Anything else you want to touch on? Maybe the rules, or do you want to talk about the rewards
I've
page?
got some. Yeah, so I have a little bit of technical difficulties here with the internet speed. So you have a rating system. You can now rate your opponent that you play. So make sure you guys.
So how do I go to that?
Earlier.
Tell me how I go to that. I'm going to go at the home page, so let's go to it.
All right, so you go to SoudanBowl.com, you come over to the SBSL link, and all the way at the bottom there, SL Feedback.
There we are, SL Feedback. And I have it pulled up here. And it's pretty self-explanatory, folks. What you want to do is you want to put your opponent's name, or the opponent's gamer tag, opponent team, your gamer tag, your team. You're going to put how you're rating them. So go ahead and talk about the ratings.
So you want to rate your opponent's play selection, and if you look at the bottom, it's really this is his or her ability to mix up their plays. And then going down the list, you have rate your opponent's gameplay. So how sim is he or she? You know, do they throw all the same route? Are they, kind of skirting the rules, so to speak? Do they run a lot with their quarterback? Just kind of, did it feel like a real football game, 1 to 5? Then your opponent's skill. How good was your opponent you played? Were they like me, a 1? Or were they like Alpha, a 5? Somebody that's going to win the Super Bowl.
And that's a good point. So basically what you're going to do is any type of additional feedback, you're going to submit that. That's going to go to Soudan. Soudan is going to, I'm sure look that over with the other admins. And it's just basically feedback for us to be able to kind of like, if there's any owners there that maybe we didn't catch the game, but there was some questionable stuff going on. It's not really a tattletale thing. It's more of like, we want to work with these guys and get them, we want to kind of sharpen the tool and, make sure that we develop them the best way we can to what we look for in this league. If they're just not a good fit, then, and we start to see this pattern of opponents getting, hey, this one guy, it's like, man, they're putting, he's running slants the entire game or outside toss. We may have to end up, unfortunately, taking that person out. But this is not, and I want to clarify this is not just for you to rat your opponent out. It's more or less for us, it's to help us kind of determine the members that we have here. Very, very good.
Yes. And, We have. Go ahead.
One thing I want to touch on real quick, if you're watching this, and I know Soden's going to make a this doesn't have anything to do with this, but if you're not going to be at the draft tomorrow, if you're in the league and you're not going to be at the draft tomorrow, please let us know. Okay, there is probably 20 users that's going to be sitting there watching your team go down from 2 minutes to 0 and us not knowing. So if you're not going to be there, let us know. That way we can skip your pick and go on to the next one. So that will just make the whole draft go by a lot easier. So
definitely. I'm drawing a picture of a nail because you literally, that is exactly what I was going to say. With that said, that's all I've got, man.
Well, I actually have a nice little, I don't even think you knew about this, but our draft guru, Mr. Dwyer, who's on Facebook, he's on Twitter, actually sent me his mock draft. Do you want to hear the mock draft?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so he sent me this, and he said, look, guys, he's like, this is fresh. This is like coming right out. So now he did a ton of picks, so I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll probably go through the top picks here. Starting with the Arizona Cardinals, Mr. Dwyer thinks that Nick Bosa is going to go number 1. I think that's the consensus. Everybody thinks he's going to go number 1 tomorrow night to the Arizona Cardinals. And in Oakland, he has Oakland picking Josh Allen out of Kentucky, the outside linebacker. Third pick, he has Quinnen Williams out of Alabama, the stud defensive tackle, going to the San Francisco 49ers. At number 4, he has the New York Jets picking Ed Oliver, the defensive tackle out of Houston. And I think your child in the background hates those picks so far. Miami, now at the 5 pick, he has him going Kyler Murray out of University of Oklahoma with the 5th overall pick. Number 6, he has the New York Giants grabbing Jonah Williams, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. Number 7, he's got Oakland, the trade that they made with the Jacksonville Jaguars, grabbing Greedy Williams, cornerback out of LSU. Detroit grabbing Rashawn Gary out of Michigan. Buffalo grabbing DK Metcalf out of Ole Miss. Cincinnati grabbing Devin White, the stud linebacker out of LSU. Jacksonville grabbing Andre Dillard, the offensive tackle. Carolina grabbing Byron Murphy. Tampa Bay going after DeAndre Baker. Washington going quarterback Dwayne Haskins, dropping all the way down to 14 to the Washington Redskins. Atlanta Falcons grabbing Montez Sweat, the stud pass rushing outside linebacker. Green Bay going with Noah Fant, the tight end. Minnesota grabbing Cody Ford, the offensive tackle. Cleveland Browns drafting A.J. Brown, those Ole Miss stud wide receivers. Tennessee grabbing Jeffrey Simmons. Arizona drafting Riley Ridley. Seattle drafted Christian Wilkins. Baltimore drafting Marquise Brown. Houston drafting Greg Little. Jacksonville, Ja'Kai Polite. I think that's how you say his name. Defensive end out of Florida. Philadelphia drafting Joshua Jacobs, the halfback out of Alabama. Indianapolis grabbing Cleveland Farrell. Arizona drafting Dexter Lawrence. The Los Angeles Chargers grabbing Taylor Rapp, the safety. Tampa Bay Buccaneers drafting Keneal Harry, wide receiver. The LA Rams drafting Mac Wilson. And finally, Tampa Bay clearing out the first round with Bryce Love, the halfback out of Stanford. What do you think about that?
Excellent write-up. I'm going to have to match that with the draft results and see how he did.
Yeah.
Good insight. Very good insight. I'm gonna post that up on the website there and see. Let's see how he does.
I know that'll be interesting. I think he's going to be off on some of those picks. I'm not going to say mine or some other ones. I've talked to a couple guys, and I think I kind of know where a couple of them are going, and I think that he could be wrong on those. But it will be interesting because our newest draft guru, Mr. Dwyer, you can follow him on Twitter. Do you know what his Twitter is? His Twitter handle?
I do not. Yeah, let's hear his Twitter handle, please.
I don't either. That's why I was asking you. Let me see if I can find it here. I am following him.
I've got it.
Okay.
I'm looking it up right now.
I wanted to give him a shout out. This is very embarrassing. Now we don't even know our own draft guru. He may go work for ESPN after this. May not be.
Maybe I wouldn't blame him.
Exactly. So, while we're looking that up, fellas, we are wanting to make sure that everybody understands draft is tomorrow night at 8. If you're not going to be at the draft, please let us know so we can skip your pick once your pick is up. We every round we will be dropping the amount of advance time, so just keep in mind. I'm sure Soden will kind of go over that tomorrow. With that said, guys, make sure Saturday is going to start the beginning of the season. Make sure you freshen up on the rules. Okay, I've had some questions about some of the rules, and quite frankly, I'm a little disappointed because these are very, very, it's easy because they are in the SL rule book. If you go to League Rules, you hover over that and you go to SL Rules, that's where the rules are. Make sure you are reading this. There's going to be no, I don't know. You're just not going to be able to tell me that you didn't know that that was a rule, because that's going to frankly piss me off. So, yeah, I'm kind of going over that. Did you ever find Mr. Dwyer's social media?
I have not. Oh, I've got him. Here he is. At SBSL_O'Dwyer, ODWYER. David O'Dwyer.
Okay, thank you. So you guys, start up your Twitter page. It's not something that you have to do, but remember, you're getting points. These are going to be points that go towards a lot of cool things coming here in the future. One being the team draft selection. When we head into Madden 20, we are going to have a draft selection for the teams. You do not want to be stuck at the bottom unless you want the Lions or whatever crap team that nobody wants. I don't know, but we want the activity, we want the content. If you just want to stick around and play your games, and that's fine, guys. Just make sure you're playing by the rules, because if you're a bad owner, you don't do any content, we always got to get on you. You're not going to be around long. So that is the purpose of SBSL. If you're looking for more of a competitive game, you want to play the game kind of the way Madden has it set up right now, that would be Soudan Bowl. That league is for more of the competitive game players. The sim game players, obviously, is the league we're talking about right now. Right. I don't have anything else. This was really cool. We want to thank Rex Dickson again for taking time out to talk to us. Great interview, man. It was just some really cool, insightful stuff, especially if you're an aspiring game designer. And I think he is kind of a folk hero for us, hardcore sim gamers in this community. We love Rex, and we do want EA to get to where we want it to be, and I think it can be. I really do. I really like Clint Oldenburg. I think that he's got a good. I think some point their hands are a little bit tied, but I really think that we have some good direction, fellas, and I hope it gets there. I really do, because when Madden fails, we all fail. It's not like anybody wins out of that. We want it to be a good game, and stick around and just keep getting better. So yeah, with that said, guys, that's it for SBN tonight. We'll see you next Thursday night. Thanks again, guys, and you guys have a good one. Stay safe. If you can't, later. Name it after me.